Hey, what's going on, Headliner Nation? So excited. The first live stream of 2019. What? Oh, Thomas throwing a boo in there because we're not talking fantasy football, but that's okay because we've got so much content on the channel now. How could we not be excited for how much stuff that we're putting out there? Don't worry, Thomas. Football's still here. It's not going anywhere. Still tons of live streams coming for football. Still lots of episodes coming for football. But we're going to be talking some baseball tonight because it is almost baseball season. That's right. Spring training is right here. We're already into the depths of spring training. They're playing games right now. The season feels like it's just a few weeks away at this point, and it is. So have you drafted yet? Because I know a lot of people who have already drafted and they're already upset about Luis Severino going down with an injury. So hello to everybody in the chat. Thanks so much for showing up tonight. Really appreciate it. This is the first live stream that I've done on the Fantasy Headliners. I'm super excited about it. Jake is messaging me, letting me know it sounds and looks good. Excellent. That's great to hear. Hopefully everyone out there is having an excellent night. We're going to get into this. I'm going to be taking questions. So if you have any fantasy questions, please let me know. I'm also going to be talking a little bit of ADP, some information that we've had in some other videos. So if you haven't had a chance to check out those other videos yet after the live stream tonight, perfect time to do that. I'm going to hang out for a little bit. I don't know exactly how long I'll hang out, but I'll be here for a little bit. So make sure you drop those questions if you have any. I see one already out there from Thrax God. Concerns of taking Lindor in the second round. I do have some concerns. Now, getting Lindor in the second round is actually pretty decent based on his current ADP, because his ADP, when you average it across several different sites, he's coming in at about 7.7 right now. So if you're getting him in the second round, that's actually terrific. So, do I want to take him in the second round? It depends on what I did in the first round. If I got a really good bat in the first round and I feel like if I take him, I can get a really good value at shortstop later on to kind of fill in until he's for sure 100% ready to go, then yeah, I don't mind it because, as soon as he's healthy, he's going to rake. He's one of the best shortstops in all of baseball. You could argue that he is the best shortstop in all of baseball if you wanted to go down that route. I do have concerns, yes, but I wouldn't just throw him out the window and say there's no way that I'm drafting him this year either. So, you got to kind of see how the draft plays out and see where he ends up going. Like I said, right now his ADP has him in the first round still. So if you get him in the second round, you're probably still getting a pretty decent value on him. Scott says, sup Kyle, sup Scott, what's going on, my man? Sugar says, hello Kyle, what's up Sugar? Again, excited to be here, hanging out, talking a little bit of baseball tonight, some fantasy baseball. Make sure that you are dropping your questions in the chat there. If you have any, you're going to be talking a little bit of ADP still, some other stuff in videos, lots of different things going on tonight. So, we're going to have some good information here. How high am I on Moncada? I like him still. Especially in dynasty leagues. I am not wanting to give up on this guy if it's a dynasty league. Now, if it's redraft, we're going to be a little bit more careful in redraft until this guy really shows us that he can get his strikeout rate down. I did list him in another video that we did. I did list him as a trade target. So check out that video as well. I go a little bit more in depth. But, his ADP right now, all the way down at a 164.7. He's going after Odor and Profar, Dozier, Muncy, Cano. He's going way down there. The one person he is going over right now is Jonathan Scope, which I'm a little surprised that he's so far up there right now. But Jonathan Scope, another guy. DJ LeMahieu is also down at 199.7 for the Yankees. So some decent options behind him, but he's got exciting upside because if he does figure it out, if he gets those strikeouts down, and I talked about this in another video that we did, if he gets those strikeouts down, we do find that his line drive percentage, his hard hit percentage, a lot of those things all show us that if he doesn't strike out as much, he could be, I don't want to say elite, but he could be a very, very good Major League Baseball player. So I'm fine with a late round waiver on him. I definitely want to own him later in drafts, especially in deeper leagues. So if you're anything more than 12, then I'm also taking a chance on him at that point as well. So again, got to be careful with it. You have to go in with the hope that he performs really well, but he might not either. So it's a gamble, but I think it's a gamble worth taking. Ron wants to know, how much will the Yanks use Ottavino? Oh, I mean, I don't think he's going to get very many holds. Maybe that's your question, Ron. Maybe you play in a league with holds. I think he's going to be a guy that is real situational, a lot more than what we would want to be. Britton also there as well, could be very situational. So if you're playing in a league with holds and you're looking at him to potentially give you help there, I would look elsewhere. I would look elsewhere for holds. I don't think he'll have opportunities, but I don't think he will have a ton of opportunities just because of where he may or may not be used. Let's see here. I'm going to scroll back up a little bit because I missed a few questions. I apologize. Dominic wants to know, who is a better keeper? We are talking Vlad Guerrero Jr. and Ronald Acuna. Make sure to, as well, guys, everyone watching the stream right now, like the video. We really appreciate that. If you're watching and you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button as well. Become a part of Headliner Nation today. Again, really appreciate any likes that you could dump as well. Going to be talking a lot of baseball tonight. Going to be getting a lot of information. Really hoping to share with a lot of people. Guerrero or Acuna, I mean, if we're talking redraft purposes, it has to be Acuna. Depending on how many keepers you have. I mean, if you're in a situation where you have limited keepers, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, something like that, and you really need to make sure that you have somebody that's going to be in the majors to start the year, it's Acuna 100%. Overall, though, I think Guerrero has the chance to be better than Acuna in the long run, but I'm not real worried about that either. So it's close. Dominic, it's so close. It's really hard to choose between either of them. I mean, people are so hyped up on Guerrero right now. It's hard not to keep him, but at the same time, too, we've seen Acuna in the majors already. We've seen how well he can play. We know what he can do. He's a 5-tool type guy, where Guerrero might not necessarily be that either. Guerrero definitely would be better for home runs. So it really depends on what's weighted a little bit more in your league and what's not in some of those different situations I talked about there. So those are some things to take into consideration. Right now, I would lean Acuna a little bit just because he's already in the majors, and we're not going to have to wait on him for a couple of months. Brad wants to know, what would you do as Severino as a keeper? Don't have to give up picks for our keepers. Other keepers are Altuve, Hoskins, Yelich, and Thor. So it depends. It depends on what you're looking at, Brad. So how many do you get to keep? Number one, that would be the first question. I would be careful with Severino. It's a shoulder issue. And just because he could be back in a few weeks and be throwing again doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be healthy in a month or 2 months. Maybe it's something. I mean, we've seen this all too much with pitchers where it drags on throughout a season. So Yelich, Thor, and Altuve, I would keep all of them over Severino right now. If I had to toss one out to keep Severino, it would be Hoskins. I would keep Severino over him just because long-term value and things like that. I do like Severino a little bit more. I would hate to lose him just to keep a player because we think he could be out for a while. But again, you got to play it by ear. You got to be careful with it. Sugar wants to know, general question: who have you been targeting highly? And, my bad. The chat just scrolled on me. Who have you been targeting highly, and who have you been completely ignoring? Kind of a love-hate based on their ADP. Well, let me get this ADP back up here. Overall, we did some love-hate type stuff not too long ago, so make sure you check out that video for a little bit more there. The one guy that I've talked about a little bit, and it's not necessarily that I hate him, but to get Jacob deGrom right now, his ADP now has him at 11.0, which makes him the starting pitcher number 2. I like Jacob deGrom. He was a guy that I owned in dynasty leagues before he ever made it to the major leagues. I've got nothing against him. I just think if we're drafting him, hoping he does what he did last year, we could be disappointed because I don't really see him. I don't see him bringing that kind of a performance again. So he's one guy that I'm typically staying away from. I would rather draft Chris Sale above him right now. Chris Sale going right behind him at 11.3. I'd rather take him. I would also rather take Corey Kluber at this point, who's at 18.3. You could get him a little bit later on. So if you get to the end of the first round and you're thinking you need a pitcher, I would rather go Chris Sale. Personally, though, I would take a hitter, and then if you want pitching, go Corey Kluber after that. Some other ADP guys that I've talked about as well. Let me scroll down here a little bit. Xander Bogaerts is a guy that I have talked about. I like him, especially at shortstop. If you wait a little bit, I like his ADP there. Let me scroll a little bit more here. Jack Flaherty, who's going at 65.7 right now. He's looking really good in spring training. He's a locked-in starting pitcher too, really, at this point, that you could almost get as like a SP3 value. Daniel Murphy, a guy that also has a really good ADP right now, 79.3. He's a guy that I'm buying as well because I do like him being out there in Colorado. I think he offers a ton of upside. And then a guy like David Dahl, too. David Dahl, 98.0. You could potentially have him as your outfielder 3, and I think he can provide upper-tier outfield numbers this year. So those are just a few of the guys that I'm tossing out there that I like. So, those are some guys I like. Again, I gave you one that I wasn't too excited about there. I'm trying to find another one, too. Corey Seager, like a Corey Seager at 80.3, just because we don't know how he's going to play. He's the guy that I'm skipping on, too. I'm not going to bank on Corey Seager at this point. Miguel Andujar from the Yankees going at 76. Again, he's a lower tier third baseman for me, so I'm not spending a pick on him at that point either. Again, another guy that's a little bit too high for my taste right now. Daniel wants to know, who should I keep between Victor Robles or Eloy Jimenez? I have power and speed already with 6 other keepers, Judge, Turner type. So who do you like for potential superstar power? Well, I love Eloy Jimenez, and he's not going to be in the majors this year. Okay, maybe not this. He'll probably get a taste this year. Okay, so he'll probably be up at some point, but when is it going to happen? I don't know. We'll see Robles, obviously, before we see Jimenez, but with Jimenez, definitely more of a ceiling there, higher upside. I love that guy. He is definitely a guy that I want to have in any type of keeper/dynasty league. So if you're looking for potential superstar power, nothing against Robles, but Jimenez is my guy. Armando wants to know, should you keep Gannett or Shaw? That's a tough one. To me, that depends on what position you need, second base or third. Shaw might play a little bit of second base this year, but he's going to play mostly third base more than likely. There could be a lot of different pieces moving around on that infield there in Milwaukee. So that, to me, is all about what position do you need more. Juan Soto for the season, I mean, he was terrific last year. Loved him last year, absolutely. He was a guy that 100% helped out so many people who were able to grab him late in drafts, not even late in drafts because he wasn't expected to be called up, who were able to grab him off the waiver wire. He offered terrific numbers all year long, so if you needed help and you picked him up, he gave you that help, and I saw a lot of championship teams that had him on it. So for Soto, do I expect him to put up the same numbers? It's quite possible. I think they're going to miss Harper a little bit. I really do, even though Harper didn't have his best season, even though I have said before that Harper, in my opinion, is extremely overrated. At that point, those are things that concern me with him still leaving, because he was still a presence in the middle of that lineup because of how many walks he had, of how many intentional walks that he had, guys pitching around him. That's still going to be missed. So I am a little bit hesitant with that lineup. Like an Anthony Rendon, I really like him a lot, but I'm being hesitant with him just because of what could happen around him and some different repercussions with Harper being gone. So Soto, I like him. Let's check here real quick. I want to see where his current ADP is standing into 34. So he's going right around Chris Bryant and Andrew Benintendi are both guys that are going directly in front of him. Guys like Anthony Rizzo afterwards. I'd take him over Chris Davis. Starling Marte and Juan Soto are going to be really, really close for me. Starling Marte is a guy that you could get afterwards. Bellinger is going after him as well. I'd probably invest in Bellinger before I would invest in Soto. I know that might sound crazy. I think Bellinger's in for a really, really good year. Soto, we could see a little bit of regression. So that's kind of my thoughts on Soto there. Roger wants to know, Gridiron Guru, fantasy baseball seems super complicated. I might try it out for the first time. Yeah, for the hell of it. Why not? Why not, Gridiron? Absolutely. Just give it a shot. See what happens. If you don't like it, never play it again. The one thing about fantasy baseball that's different from fantasy football is the fact that if you play in a league where you have to do lineups every single day, it's a grind. It's a huge grind. That's the one thing that becomes a concern, because if you don't like setting up lineups every day, then you need to get into a league where it's just once a week. Because there are fantasy baseball leagues where you do set your lineup at the beginning of the week, you lock it, you don't have to worry about it again until the next week. So those, it depends on what you want out of it. But if you're trying it out for the first time, find something super simple just to give it a shot and see what happens. Again, if you don't like it, you don't have to ever do it again. But I do always recommend trying it at least once, because why not? Brad wants to know thoughts on Devers and Donaldson this year. My favorite two for bounce back seasons. I do. Devers, I'm investing in a little bit more in terms of dynasty leagues and keeper leagues. Redraft though, I'm taking Donaldson as much as I can possibly get him, to be honest. I did a mock draft video too, so if you haven't had a chance to check that out, check out the mock draft video that's out there. Dropped it yesterday morning, I believe. So yeah, yesterday morning dropped the mock draft video. So check that out if you have the opportunity to do so, because I do talk about Donaldson a little bit more. I do think he bounces back. I've talked about that lineup as well in terms of how it's kind of played out, because I did not like the way that some projected lineups had it set. And let me run back out here real quick. So I know for projected lineups, RotoChamp is a website that I take a look at quite often. But right now they have Inciarte leading off, and then Donaldson, Freeman, Acuna, Markakis, Albies, Swanson, Flowers. So, if Donaldson, I'd rather Donaldson hit 3, to be honest with you. Have Donaldson hit 3, have Markakis hit 2, bounce Freeman back to 4. Even if you wanted Acuna to hit at the top of the lineup, you could. I do like Inciarte at the top of that lineup, though. So, yeah, absolutely. I'm going Donaldson 100% in redraft, but in keeper / dynasty leagues, whatever, I'll take Devers instead. I do think he's a kid that is growing, will become better as a hitter every single time. So if you're out there right now watching, again, we appreciate you being here for the first live stream of 2019. You're probably more used to seeing Jake sitting here talking about football, but excited to be here, excited to be with the Fantasy Headliners 100%. If I do skip over your question though, drop it again, just because the way the chat moves up and down. If I move it too much, then I lose my spot, and I don't want to lose a ton of questions. So if for some reason I don't get to it, drop it again. I will get to as many things as possible. Gridiron out there, seems like you know your stuff on MLB, Kyle. Good stuff. I apologize. No problem, man. Absolutely no problem. One water under the bridge. You're a good dude. Jake said you've been one of the ones here from the very beginning. We appreciate your support and being a part of Headliner Nation. Just jumping back into, let's get a couple of more questions here real quick. But first, though, hit that like button for me. I'd really appreciate it if you hit that like button. Let's get a few more viewers in here. Let's let the other people out there know what Headliner Nation is all about and invite them in to be a part of it. Mookie Betts at first overall in head-to-head points leagues from Bronx Bomber 25. Bronx Bomber, hopefully you're not too much of a diehard Yankees fan, because I don't know how you would feel about taking a Red Sox at first overall. But here's the thing with Mookie Betts. You can't make a bad decision at number 1 overall. It doesn't matter if you want Mookie. It does not matter if you want Mike Trout. You're going to make a great decision. It doesn't matter. You already have such a step up on your league having either of those guys. I've talked about Mookie Betts and some of his counting stats and things like that come with him. I like him a lot. I love Mookie Betts. I think he is 100% a guy that is going to continue to play at a high level over and over and over and over. I've heard some people say, can he do what he did again last year? Absolutely. Love Mookie Betts. Even back in the minors, the kid has always raked. So he is absolutely 100% a guy that I would take in any type of league, whether it be redraft, dynasty, keeper. If you want him 1 overall, take him 1 overall and don't lose any sleep over it. Trout, if you want Trout 1 overall, it doesn't matter. They're both such good players. You're going to do just fine with either one of them. So, it's a 1A, 1B situation. I saw a dynasty question here from Blake. Appreciate that, Blake. Brendan Rodgers or Bo Bichette? Oh, man. Blake, here's the thing about Brendan Rodgers. I love Brendan Rodgers. A little bit of a man crush. I'm not going to lie. Brendan Rodgers is an excellent prospect. The only problem is he just continues to get blocked in Colorado. Last year, I thought maybe he would have a chance, especially if Trevor Story struggled the way he did a couple of years ago. Obviously, it didn't happen. Trevor Story isn't going anywhere at this point now. His path to playing time is going to have to be at second base, and that's really going to depend on what happens with Hampson there, Garrett Hampson. With Hampson, he's a guy that could steal a lot of bags. He could steal more than 30 bags this year. Because of that, he might not end up going anywhere because they do need a little bit of help there on the base pass. So then you have to look at it and say, okay, does Rodgers move to first base at any point? So he's so blocked in. It's hard for me to take him. Bo Bichette is not blocked. This kid is a stud. He is going to be an excellent major league hitter. It's going to be so much fun to watch the Blue Jays in a couple of years with these two guys. They have other prospects as well that are going to be fun to watch come up through the system. So I'm going to take Bo Bichette at this point because he has a more clear path to playing time at this point, because overall the Blue Jays roster and lineup just isn't nearly as good as the Rockies. Let's see here real quick. Roger wants to know, dynasty question, Paxton, Jose Abreu, Michael Chavis, Ozzie Albies, and Yuli. Well, how many do you get to keep? If it's a dynasty question, definitely Ozzie Albies at this point. I will take him. And then probably Paxton after him, and then Abreu, and then the last two are kind of right there tied with each other. Albies, I think, is my clear keeper there. Paxton, he would be an absolute keeper no matter what if he could stay healthy, but he just can't seem to stay healthy. That's an issue. Isaac wants to know, who do you like at 7 and 10? 10 team, 14 player keeper league. Oh, I'm sorry, I jumped the question. Who do you like at 7 and 10? Turner, Acuna, or Bregman? Oh, man. So I did the mock draft video that I did the other day. I did pick out of the 10 spot of a 12-team league. I'm going to switch things around a little bit. I'm going to do another mock draft video here soon, so keep an eye out for that. Mikey, what's going on, man? Thanks for tuning in. So, Isaac, at this point, at 7 and 10, guys that you're going to get down there, it depends on what you want to do. If you want a bat, and you can get yourself, at that ADP of, let me scroll back here real quick. At that spot right there, you're looking at a Trey Turner, a Jose Altuve, an Acuna, a Bregman, guys like that. I'm okay with going one of those guys in the first round, but if you want pitching and you want a pitcher early, then I would go around that spot. I would go Chris Sale first, and then I would go with one of those guys next. So it depends on what you're most comfortable with. I talk about it all the time. I wait on starting pitching more than almost anybody that I know, just because I'm comfortable with working the waiver wire and with keeping an eye on guys in the minor leagues. But that really is because of how many dynasty leagues I play in. And redraft, if you're playing a redraft and you're not nearly as deep into it and you're more of a casual fantasy baseball fan, that's great. Absolutely love it. No problems with that. You just might not keep up with a lot of the minor league news that others will. So because of that, you might have issues finding those little gems throughout the season. A guy that gets called up that sticks in the majors. Maybe somebody that starts in the Jake's sending me messages. somebody that starts in the bullpen and moves to the rotation, things like that. So if you want to focus on pitching, take a guy like Chris Sale first, and then grab one of those guys with your next pick in the second round. Any way you do it, 100% though, you're going to be all right with it because all those guys that you mentioned, terrific hitters. Bregman, I think, is going to be a first-round lock pick next year. I'm saying it right now. 100% first-rounder. Bregman will be with an ADP next year because he's going to have another fabulous season. Oh, Roger, I get it now. It was a trade question. I apologize. So I am going to go with the Albies side on that one. Albies and Gurriel. Just because Paxton, he does have a little bit of an injury, past injury. And Jose Abreu, good first baseman, but you can find other first basemen. So that's why I would go with Albies on that side. Don't forget as well, if you're watching right now, we have a special giveaway going on. So we are giving away a Trey Turner signed baseball. That's right. Trey Turner signed baseball in a nice little case, got the certificate of authenticity with it. We're going to be giving it away on opening day. So you still have time. Make sure you head over to our Twitter accounts. Mine was right there. At KRich1532. Give me a follow on Twitter. I would appreciate it more than anything. Jake as well. You're probably all following Jake at this point, but if you're new to Headliner Nation and you weren't here for fantasy baseball or football season, you might not follow Jake. So at FNTSY Headliners, at Fantasy Headliners on Twitter. Our pinned tweets, both of them have directions on how you could win that signed baseball. You have to follow us on Twitter. You have to retweet that tweet, and you have to subscribe here to the Fantasy Headliner. So you do all those things, and you get a chance to win that signed baseball. Awesome. Jake has sent me pictures of it. We have a picture of it on Twitter as well. It's going to be an awesome, Mikey's got it right, hit that like button, an awesome giveaway. So make sure that you don't miss out on that. Mikey, glad to see you in the chat, man. Which players can provide stolen bases in the later round? Eli, I talked about one already. Garrett Hampson, a guy that you need to keep an eye on because with Hampson, he's going to steal more than 30 bags this year. Probably. I do a little bit there on the end. He is a guy that's going to steal quite a few bags this year. So he's the one guy that I'm really, really keeping an eye on in terms of getting a really good value on later. I mean, I honestly, like I'm looking through here right now. I don't remember his ADP. These ADPs on here are currently updated. I haven't had a chance to look through them as thoroughly the last couple of days as I would like because we have so much draft stuff going on with the NFL. But I'm not even finding him right now. So that to me says he's going to offer you quite a few. A guy like Tim Anderson at shortstop is another guy that you could look for with an ADP of 123.7. He is a guy that will offer you some stolen base potential. Scrolling through some of these other guys that are all the way down here as well. AJ Pollock, I'd like to see him get back to stealing some bags. I don't really know realistically how many it will be, but there's always an opportunity. A guy like Will Myers, he's a guy that he'll still double-digit bags this year, no doubt in my mind at all. Jose Peraza, Cincinnati shortstop, his ADP at 107.7, another guy that offers you a good stolen base potential. D. Gordon with a 101.3 ADP. So those are just some guys later in drafts that you definitely could take a look at. Scrolling down, I'm trying to find a little bit down. So at 196, you got Byron Buxton. He could also be a guy. Hampton has been bad everywhere else. He stung me last year. Sorry to hear that, man. But Byron Buxton is another guy at 196. If you're the one person that's still buying into him, another guy with stolen base potential all the way down there. So there are quite a few still, absolutely, all the way down towards not really the late draft, but more so your mid to late rounds. So keep an eye on all of those guys. Would I rather keep Bogarts or Hoskins? Oh, that's Xander. Xander for me, 100%, Brad. Absolutely. Daniel Bautista in a Roto Keeper League is having Josh Hader and Corey Knebel the best handcuff for saves, holds, and ratios. It probably is, because those guys are going to switch on and off a lot. And because you have holds and saves and ratios, it gets even better at that point for you, because even if Knebel doesn't get the save and he comes in and he does come in before Hader or vice versa or whatever happens, you're still going to get some counting stats that day. So that's absolutely a great handcuff, as we're calling it here. I say handcuff, I think about running backs automatically in fantasy football. But yeah, and I talked about some relief pitchers on my relief pitcher analysis video the other day, so check that out if you haven't done that yet either. I do like those guys in that situation. If it was just saves, I'm staying away from both of them, honestly. If you only had saves, that is really concerning for me. I wouldn't want to be in on either of those guys. I would definitely dismiss him at that point, unless there would be an injury. But because again of your settings, yeah, absolutely, I like that setup that you have there. Sugar wants to know, would you recommend... Oh, sorry, Daniel. Hold on. Would you recommend taking 2 pitchers in the first 5 rounds or only one? Probably taking 2 hitters first, but unsure what to do after that. So, Sugar, let me tell you, my mock draft video, I talk about this a lot more. I go way more in depth on my strategy there, so I'll touch on it here for you as well. But check out that video if you haven't done so yet. I'm a hitting guy. I like to have my hitters. I like to have hitters that can produce all 5 categories. I like to have a lot of them. A lot of times what I will do in my drafts is I will go hitter, pitcher, depending on the flow, another hitter, and then best available at that point. I do want an ace. I do want an ace. Every single year I want a guy that has the upside of an ace. In this video, for my aces, I had Strasburg and I had Syndergaard. Both of them come with injury issues and concerns of roller coaster type seasons that they've had in the past. But both of them have ace upside. Syndergaard a little bit more than Strasburg. But I'm okay with that because I like to be a little bit more risky with my pitching. I will take guys with high upside that are riskier to make sure that I can get the hitting that I want. Because I've already said it again, when I am sitting in season, when I am looking at pitchers, I'm comfortable going after guys on the waiver wire, trading, whatever it may be. And it depends on your settings as well. So like in a category league, if you're playing like head-to-head category, something like that, at that point, like I want as much hitting as possible because I want the best guys that are contributing every single day in the lineup, not a guy that only might contribute once, possibly 2 times a week. So that's why I'll go towards hitters. Now, if you're playing like in a points league and the points in your league benefit pitching more, then at that point, yeah, taking 2 guys in the first 5 rounds is probably going to be your best bet because you need to get that premium pitching a little bit early, and you probably need to spend a pick on a Sale or a Kluber or a Scherzer or someone like that to ensure that you do have that guy that will always give you that upside. So that is my take on pitching and what I go through with it. So, there's a lot of different things that you could end up doing. Nirishan Nithi, I apologize if I'm butchering your name. I'm not great with names. Nirishan, in a league with strikeouts and walks, I got the 5th pick. Should I take Ramirez, Yelich, or Martinez? Ramirez. Do it. Jose Ramirez, 100%. If you can get him at 5, excellent. His ADP right now is 3, so he's dropping a little bit there for you. But I've talked about Jose Ramirez on one of our must-own videos. When you look at must-owns, Ramirez is basically at the top there. But the guy is so good. I mean, when you look at... Let me bring up some of his stats here real quick to kind of go back into why I thought Jose Ramirez is my pick right now to win the AL MVP this year. Lindor being out hurts him a little bit, but I don't think that much. The reason that I think he is, if I can get the stats to load properly, are some of his advanced stats. And the major advanced stat that I'm keying in with Jose Ramirez is his batting average of balls in play. So over the course of his career, and he's been in the major league since he's been 20 years old. He's only 26 this season. Joe out there, Indians baby. I'm a Tiger fan, so we're going to be down for a couple more years, so it's okay. But if you look at his batting average of balls in play, the last 2 seasons, 2016, 2017, his breakout years, what has really established him as a top fantasy option. A 333 batting average of balls in play and a 319 batting average of balls in play. Okay, so last year, Jose Ramirez comes out and has a good season still. 39 home runs, 105 RBI, steals 34 bags. Okay, Strikeouts, only 80 strikeouts, perfect. When you see, but the average comes down to 270. So when you see the average dip and the home runs go up, one of the very first things you think about is, did he sacrifice contact for power? Did he? Possibly. Hit 270, didn't strike out a ton, only 80 times. He has yet to strike out more than 100 times in a season. Last year at 80 was the most he's ever struck out in a season. But you look at that, and then you go down here to his batting average of balls in play. Last year, his batting average of balls in play was only 252. He is missing 60 to 70 points off of his average balls in play per season. That right there shows me that even though Jose Ramirez was excellent last season, he was still unlucky at times and could have hit over 300. That's going to bounce back up. That's going to come back. That average is going to come back up. He's not hitting 270 again. He is going to hit more towards 300. He is my pick for AL MVP right now because I think he is in for just a fantastic season. So if you can get Jose Ramirez and you don't have pick 1 or 2, I'm still going Trout. I am still going Mookie Betts at the top. But then Jose Ramirez is number 3 for me right away. My number 3 overall player, 100%. Jason wants to know, what is a nice pitching option around 40, 41 that I can take as a starting pitcher 2 in an 8-team league? Oh, man. Okay, you're going to have a lot of opportunities there. So let's look here. ADPs, guys going around the 40s right now. So you have a Walker Buehler, who I like Walker Buehler. I do have some concerns about him because his ratios were so bad between him being on the road and at home. He wasn't very good on the road. So because of that, I need to see him be a little bit more consistent. As your starting pitcher too, I would like to have somebody a little bit more consistent, but he definitely has the upside. So that's a guy going around that 40 mark that wouldn't be bad to try and get a hold of. A couple of guys going right before that. So at 36.3 right now, we have a Noah Syndergaard. And then at 38, we have a Carlos Carrasco. Carlos Carrasco is one of the most consistent fantasy starting pitchers that you could have. So if you really want that consistency, if you really want that guy that you know, you have your ace, but then you have a guy right behind him that you can rely on, it's going to be a Carlos Carrasco. So if he were to fall down there, absolutely 100%. Oh, that'd be another guy. And then a couple of guys after that, a Patrick Corbin at 51. I don't think he's going to be what he was last year in Arizona. I still think he'll be good. I view him more as like a starting pitcher 3 probably. James Paxton, 52. He is a guy that honestly I would be okay with as my ace, especially if I went like no starting pitching, like a 0 starting pitching, if that's the thing that we want to start like fantasy football. If you were to not, I mean, James Paxton is good enough to be your starting pitcher in 1. He just is injured too often. So if you get him as your starting pitcher 2, you just need to be careful with guys behind him and try to get someone else that is consistent for you. Daniel wants to know, should I target Wilson Contreras or Buster Posey in my 12-team Roto League? Wilson Contreras, 100%. He has way more upside than Buster Posey, so 100% going with him. Pack, when do you think Vlad Jr. will play for the Blue Jays? He is going to play for the Blue Jays when the Super 2 deadline passes. Now, if you don't know what that is, I'll explain real quick. So the Super 2 deadline is basically the deadline in which a player can no longer get at least a full year of Major League service. Because if they do not get it, like Vladimir Guerrero, if he does not get a full year of Major League service this season, then that is one extra season that they don't have to pay him in arbitration and they don't have to pay him in free agency. His time won't kick in because at 6 years you become a free agent. At 4 years you get into arbitration numbers, things like that. So, when those things happen, it's a loophole for baseball teams to say, oh, I don't need to bring them up right now. I can keep them in the line. I can keep them in the minors for. I don't know when the deadline is 100% this year, but you're looking at 4 to 6 weeks sometimes. So those are things to keep an eye on. He will be up this season, but it will not be until probably the second month of the season that you see him. Isaac asking about Lindor's value. We talked about him a little bit already. He does have an ADP in the first round right now. If you can get him in the second round, great. If you can get him in the third round, even better. There are some people that are going to shy away, but at the same time, there are people that are going to be 100% still on him. So I don't know if I would spend a first round pick on him just because I don't want any of those injury things to linger. Joe out there telling everyone to smash the like button. Would appreciate it. Absolutely. If you're out there watching right now, would 100% appreciate you hitting that like button. If you're watching right now and you haven't already subscribed to the Fantasy Headliners, I would do it. The last time I checked, we were probably 3 or 4 subs away from 29,000 subscribers. That is awesome. That is incredible. That is a great, great community that Jake has built here. And now I'm so thankful to be a part of it, that he has brought me in and allowed me to give you some of the knowledge that I have, whether it be fantasy baseball, fantasy football, the draft. It doesn't matter. I appreciate being able to do that. The road to 30,000 is underway. We're gonna have a huge party. Even though Jake and I live thousands of miles away, whatever it is, we're gonna have a huge party at some point for 30,000 to celebrate that. But we're grinding for you, Headliner Nation. That's what it is. This is a channel for the people. We do this for you. So hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Would appreciate all of those things. Eli wants to know, is Bryce Harper a first round pick in a 10-team league? Yeah. With his landing spot now, I'll take him in the first round. But here's the thing. You can get him later. You can take him later, especially in a 10-team. Man, his ADP right now, Bryce Harper's ADP is 19.7. So he's basically like the 20th overall player taken at this point. You can get him later. So I wouldn't spend my first round pick on him. I would take somebody else, like we've talked about, like a Turner, a Bregman, someone like that. And then if you want him, you can spend a second round pick. Now, that ADP will probably try to fluctuate a little bit more, because with that ADP fluctuating, then, because of the signing that's just happened, those are things that might bump him up a little bit more. So keep an eye on that. It depends on when you draft. The closer we get, though, keep an eye on those ADPs and see what is happening there. Let's see here real quick. Garrett, you've got a question for me about my favorite late inning relief pitcher. So here's the thing, Garrett, real quick again. When it comes to relief pitchers, I did a mock video that dropped yesterday morning. Make sure that you check that out, because there's 3 relief pitchers that I draft in that video that I'm okay with. So make sure you check that out, and I talk about them a little bit. And I also have a relief pitcher analysis video that I did that I talk about a little bit more. With all those things being said, a guy that I'm keeping an eye on is Jordan Hicks in St. Louis, because I don't think Andrew Miller is going to close. I don't think he's going to be the closer, to be honest with you. I think Andrew Miller is a guy that they're going to deploy differently, whether it be against left-handers, whether it be in the 7th inning, the 8th inning, the 9th inning. I think Jordan Hicks is the guy that's actually going to have more saves than Andrew Miller this year, just because I think Andrew Miller is a guy that they can move around a lot more and do some different things with. So it's still something to keep an eye on, though. I haven't read anything that has guaranteed Andrew Miller that closer's role. He is coming off a season in which, it was a little bit rough for him, but that's all right. He'll bounce back. He'll still end up being just fine. Then, yeah, Jordan Hicks is the guy that I would own. So keep an eye on him. Let's see here. Let's scroll a little bit. Nicholas is in the chat. Nicholas, what's going on? You are commenting on all of those fantasy baseball videos, man. I appreciate it. 10-team league. When should I target relievers, and how many should I roster? So it depends. So it depends on your league settings. Do you play in a league that requires you to have 3 relief pitchers? Does it require you to have 5 relief pitchers? Do you play in a league that requires just pitching and not necessarily relief pitching? So you could just have to get some relief pitchers, or some pitch. You could put relief pitchers in a pitching spot. You could put starting pitchers in a pitching spot. It doesn't matter. So it really depends. Personally, for me, I like to try to keep 3 closers. Daniel, I like that question. We'll talk about here in a second. I definitely like to keep at least 3 closers at all times. But again, it depends on all of your settings and things like that. It also depends on how much you value relief pitching. Do you take holds? Do you take saves? Do you take both? So those are all different things. As far as targeting, though, regardless of what your settings are, I always target relief pitchers late, very late. And I can actually pull up this mock draft here for you real quick. So give me a second to pull up this mock draft, and I'm going to wet the whistle real fast, because I have this, I have the mock draft I had did save, so I can actually tell you when it was. I have to find it here real quick. Draft Simulator. All right, so my draft, I went with in round 16. This was a 21 round draft, super basic, not a whole lot of settings. 3 outfielders, 3 relief pitchers, 5 starting pitchers. I mean, no core infielders, nothing like that. It was just super simple, just for the video. But I took in round 16, I took Archie Bradley, who I love. In round 17, I took Jordan Hicks, who I love, and then in round 18, I took Pedro Strop, who I like. So, I mean, I waited until round 16, 17, 18, almost at the end of the draft to get my relief pitching. I was one of the last people to do that. Now, that can cause issues if relief pitching goes a lot faster in your league, so you got to be careful with that. But with that being said, I wait because I want to get that value at relief pitchers. And also, closers lose jobs all the time. They're ineffective. They don't pitch well. Somebody gets hurt. It's inevitable. You go through the best thing that you can do if you're in a league that values relief pitching. The best thing that you can do is have a spreadsheet or something that keeps track of bullpens, the closer, and 2 setup guys. So the guys that are pitching late in innings, because if you do that and you know those guys, as soon as you hear of an injury or someone's effective, you can jump on one of those setup guys, and now you potentially have a closer who can give you value the rest of the season. So always keep those things in mind, 100%. Nicholas says, go blue, Kyle, and go Tiger. Yeah, go blue. Okay. Appreciate that. If you're from Michigan, welcome. Also originally from Michigan. Not there anymore. Do miss it. Steve, could you rank the following for a keeper league? Whitley, Tatis Jr., Tucker, and Mejia. Mejia's going to be Mejia. It's been a while since I've had to say that. I apologize. Francisco Mejia. So I do like him, but I'm going to put him last. And then as far as keeper leagues, Tatis Jr. is going to be number 1 for me. I love that kid. Had a chance. The single A affiliate for the San Diego Padres is actually in the town that I live in, so I got a chance to see Tatis Jr. up close. He's a great athlete, great player. He's going to be good. So I would go him, and then I would go Whitley, and then I would go Tucker. So those are, and I like Kyle Tucker a lot, so it's tough for me to put him there. Yeah. That's how I would go with that. Ryan is asking, what do you think about Judge's ADP going early to mid-second round? I think someone asked too, and I may have missed it. I apologize. Someone asked too whether I would take Harper or whether I would take Judge. If you're in a league that values power over other things, then I'm going to go with Judge. If you're in a league like your traditional 5x5 leagues, or if you're in a league that has strikeouts, even if you're in a league that has strikeouts, I'm probably going to lean Harper a little bit. I mean, they're very close. Actually, they're right next to each other in ADP. Aaron Judge is 19, Bryce Harper is 19.7. So if you're in a league that values the long ball, that values power, I'm going to go with Judge. If you're in a league that takes other things into consideration, then I would go with Harper just barely at this point. This is an interesting conversation, too. I've gotten a lot of hate for this. So somebody on Twitter a few weeks back had mentioned that Bryce Harper was the face of baseball. I didn't agree with that because I thought myself personally, Aaron Judge is the face of baseball, and I'm not even a Yankees fan. But he plays in a better market. Being in Philadelphia instead of DC might help Harper a little bit right now. But we'll see. If Harper comes back and has a huge season, then I'll give it back to him. But I just think Judge has been so good to begin with. The Judges in session, all that stuff in New York, being on the cover of MLB The Show last year, and Harper's on the on MLB The Show this year. Favorite games. I miss playing games. I should buy it. But that's just an interesting conversation. So Brad, super overrated. Yeah, leave it in the comments. Who's the face of baseball? Who do you think the face of baseball is? My vote would go to Judge right now. It's not Mike Trout, though. Mike Trout's the best player in baseball, but it is not Mike Trout. What do I think of a 20-person league, Grady? That's a lot of people, but it's. I mean, if you're up for the challenge and you have enough guys that would do it, 100%, absolutely. It's cool to try out different leagues like that and try out different things. If you've never done it before, then at that point, you definitely need to prepare a lot better. But I'm all for it now. I played in a fantasy football league that's 32 teams. I tried it out. I didn't like it just because, there's so much that goes into it. And with everything I do during football season, it's hard to keep up with leagues like that. So, but like I said, give it a shot. See what happens. Scott says Mookie Betts is the face of baseball. He's getting close. He could be here very soon. I think he's overshadowed just a little bit still at this point, but it's getting there. I'm not putting him out of it, but as of right now, I wouldn't give it to him. And trust me, I do love me the Mook Man, as I like to call him. Let me see here. Eli Trout isn't the face of baseball just because he's not that kind of he's not that guy. He's not that kind of a person. He doesn't want that spotlight, different things like that. Brad, keep an eye on minor league players all year. It will help you pick up Yes, absolutely. And Brad, that's a great point. So if you're watching right now, keep in mind that I did do an MLB or fantasy baseball breakout video, and every player I picked is someone that will potentially start the year in the minor leagues. I did that on purpose. Daniel, I see your question. I forgot about it. I'll get it in just a second. But with those, yeah, absolutely. With those minor leaguers, go check out that video after we get done here or tomorrow or whenever you have chance. It's a great video. I really liked what I did there with that, and I'm going to hopefully have some more because you're right, 100% keeping an eye on minor league players could be a key to being successful in your season. Grady, number one pick. Trout still for me, but he is close. Let me jump back up here real quick because we are talking about Jose Martinez. Danny wants to know, will Jose Martinez get 500 bats in 2019? I caught some flack for this. So Jose Martinez still has first base eligibility, and I have him ranked pretty high in my first baseman. Let me check here real quick. Where do I have him? So I had him all the way up around 13 at one point, and I caught some flack for that because is he going to play? Is he not? But here's the thing. I don't know how you can keep his bat out of the lineup. He has been terrific, especially last year for the Cardinals. Dexter Fowler, even though you're playing Dexter Fowler money, a lot of it to be there, he's not a better hitter than Jose Martinez is at this point. Jose Martinez needs to be in the lineup. Does he get 500 at bats, Daniel? Probably not. Just because I think you will see him in and out of the lineup. And if he moves back out to the outfield and his defense is atrocious, then you might have to put Dexter Fowler back out there. But, Jose Martinez, 100%, in my opinion, needs to be in the lineup. Grady wants to know, how many leagues are you in? What am I at? I have two that I'm really deep into. One that I've been running since high school. So those are my main two. Last year I was in about 6 or 7. I haven't drafted any others this year though, because I always wait to draft. So, Bronx Bombers, Nola or Verlander in a points league. Man, you're tugging at my heartstrings there with Verlander because I love Justin Verlander. But also, I have been a huge fan of Aaron Nola for quite some time. So I will give the nod to Verlander at this point by a smidge. It's not very much. I have those guys super close together, I believe. Let me bring up my rankings here. I have Justin Verlander at 4. I have Aaron Nola at 6. So I do have Verlander just a smidge above Aaron Nola. Kyle's in. Jake's in the chat, everybody. Everyone say, Jake, what is going on? The fantasy headliner himself has graced us with his presence. Mikey wants to know who's winning the World Series. I haven't made any predictions yet at this point. There are a few teams I like. Obviously, Boston, very good. I think Houston has a chance to rebound. I think the Cubs have a chance to rebound. I think there's so much parity right now in MLB. That's great. I think that's really good. I just don't want to see the Dodgers in it again. No offense. If you're a Dodgers fan, I'm sorry. No offense to the Dodgers. I just don't want to see the Dodgers playing in the World Series again. Steve says, cheers, Kyle. Love your show. I kept Ohtani as a hitter, and I hope I don't regret it. Steve, thanks so much for tuning in. I appreciate the kind words. I don't think you'll regret it, but it also depends on who you may have kept over him. So, hit the like button for Kyle. His job depends on it. Yeah, so, yep. Jake said that if I didn't have at least 5,000 likes on this video, that he was going to can me. Hey Kyle, how do you see the Astros starting rotation shaking out to begin this season? Hold on here real quick. Let me grab my notes. I have so many notes, it's hard to remember everything, so I apologize for the quick delay here. So right now, RotoChamp, again, who I use to look at a lot of projected lineups and things like that. Verlander, Cole, McHugh, Miley, Peacock, Whitley. I don't think Forrest Whitley makes it right now. I do think he starts the year in the minors. But I think, depending on Millie, Peacock, what they end up doing, Whitley could get himself into the lineup fairly quickly after that Super 2 deadline, though. So I don't think it ends up happening right away, but it's something to keep an eye on because he could end up being up pretty quickly. He's definitely a guy you put on your watch list if you're in redraft. I've heard good things about Josh James, Brad. I have done a little bit of review on him. I do think he has that potential, so we'll see what happens, but he's in the running. He is absolutely in the running. Let me see. Jordan, 12 team, head-to-head categories. Who should I pick as my final keeper, Gary Sanchez or James Paxton? Gary Sanchez for me. I think he bounces back. I don't think that average and the strikeouts are nearly as bad as they were last year. Because I think he does bounce back, I will go Gary Sanchez over James Paxton. Again, my love of hitters obviously showing there. Third base, Chris Bryant or Vlad Guerrero? John, 100% Chris Bryant. He is going to bounce back this year. He is going to have a tremendous season. So many people are down on him, and I don't understand why. Chris, he's still young. He's a great all-around hitter. He can hit for average. He can hit for power. He plays in a great lineup. All of those things. I definitely 100% would be keeping him. I've been having such a good time with you guys tonight. I didn't even realize we were closing in on an hour. Let me scroll back through this real quick. Because Daniel asked, he's been offered a $5 Zach Wheeler, $10 Jesus Aguilar, and $15 Cody Bellinger for my $15 Blake Snell. So Wheeler, Aguilar, Bellinger for Snell. To me, honestly, that's like a Bellinger for Snell swap. Because I don't mind Aguilar and Wheeler, but I'm also not jumping all over him at this point. So I would keep Snell for right now. I would keep Snell for right now. I think it's decently close, but you should be able to get a little bit more out of that. Eli, who would you take, Severino or Snell? I like Snell because Severino's pitching in Yankee Stadium. Well, right now it's Snell, just because we don't know what's going to happen with Severino. So we're worried about that shoulder. I'm definitely worried about that shoulder. So yeah, those are all things that concern me. So I would go Snell at this point. Favorite pick at 10. Again, kind of talked about that a little bit already, but at that 10 spot, we're looking at like a Trey Turner if he can get there, a Jose Altuve, possibly a Bregman, even though you could probably get him a little bit earlier than that. Or if you want starting pitching, I'm taking Chris Sale there. Jacob, would you rather have a DH in the National League or stay the same? Oh, okay. Sorry. I read the question wrong. I think, honestly, it should be a universal DH. I think there should be one in the NL and the AL. And I know there's a lot of old school baseball fans who don't agree with that because it takes away from the strategy of baseball. Well, here's the thing. Major League Baseball, and this isn't fantasy related, we're going to go off on a little bit of tangent here real quick. Major League Baseball has an issue with casual fans right now. And I love baseball. I grew up playing baseball. Baseball was the sport that I always played. I had the opportunity and I was blessed to play through college. It was my passion for so long, and it still is a passion of mine. Sports in general are that even though I feel that way about baseball, I still understand that it's not the most popular sport in the United States. I really wish it was, but it's not, and it might not ever be again. But they need to do some things to basically promote to the casual fan, the people watching, to maybe make the game a little bit more fun for them. And doing that would be having a DH. But also in the same sense, the DH, it gives so many good hitters an opportunity to extend their career, to keep playing baseball, and isn't that what it should be about? I mean, if we didn't have the DH, we wouldn't have Edgar Martinez, who just went to the Hall of Fame. We wouldn't have David Ortiz. I mean, they'd be playing first base, and they weren't great defenders. That's my whole soapbox on that. So, apologies. Wasn't fantasy baseball related, but people do dig the long ball. 100% favor of universal DH. Trevor Bauer is going to win the American League Cy Young. Yeah, he could. He definitely didn't get enough love last year for how well he pitched. 100%. He should have had more votes than what he did. I probably wouldn't put money on him to win the American League Cy Young. He definitely looks like that he has broken out at this point. This is the pitcher, that was drafted all the way back by Arizona. He just never materialized. He is now though, and that's excellent. So. He definitely is at least top 10. At least top 10. Even your cup is all about your hometown love. Yeah, right now it is. I have a different cup every single night. You'll see that. As you watch more shows and live streams and stuff, you will see that I typically have a different cup every single night. Can you rank these players? Eli, Judge, Stanton, Goldschmidt, Freeman. So I am going... Well, let me look at my rankings right now. So for rankings, I've got Judge first, and then Stanton, and then Goldschmidt, and then Freeman. But if you were to take Goldschmidt over Judge or Stanton, I wouldn't argue with you either. So, Amber, appreciate it. Thank you very much. I don't rock as much as Jake, though. I was told that last weekend. How well do you research teams' farm systems? I used to have notes and notes and notes and notes about farm systems. I used to go to a lot of minor league baseball games. Unfortunately, though, having a family and also doing this and having a full-time job and teaching, and that's something you'll learn about me. I basically have 3 jobs. I do this. I'm also a teacher at a college here, and I also have a full-time job at that same college. So I do a lot of different things. So because of all of these things, I don't get as nearly deep as I like to, but I do at least try to stay on top of the top 100 or so, and especially keeping notes on guys that I think could make impacts right away. We get more towards down like single A and stuff like that. I might have to research guys a little bit extra, but I do definitely try to stay on top of those guys who are very, very, very close. Whit Merrifield compared to Ozzie Albies in a dynasty league. In a dynasty league, I'll go Albies based on age. But Whit Merrifield is an extremely talented player that I slept on last year and shouldn't have. Is Tulo a possible bounce back candidate? He is. Yeah, absolutely. If he gets all the playing time there, he could bounce back. He hit that home run against Toronto the other day in spring training, and he was pumped. Is Springer worth keeping for $30 and a $260 budget for a keeper league, $100 keeper limit? Other keepers: Machado, Turner, Andujar, Flaherty, Verdugo. I would keep Machado. I would keep Turner. I would keep Flaherty. I'd keep Verdugo. Because you're already eating into a lot of your substance there, though. A lot of your, I wouldn't keep Springer for 30. No, I would not. Why do you think Goldschmidt can be better than Freeman this year? I mean, it's close. The one thing that I like about Goldschmidt is the opportunity for stolen bases. So as a first baseman, he could give us some decent upside in stolen bases, which is always nice. I mean, they're both in very good lineups. Maybe you give Goldschmidt the leeway in terms of home runs as well. So that's why I would have him just barely above him. Isaac is asking about Peter Alonso. Isaac, I love you, man. Absolutely. So that video I did about breakouts, I talk about Peter Alonso. I love him. He should be the starting first baseman for the Mets. I'm so upset that they decided to go out and sign Jed Lowry and that they're trying to put Cano there. Ridiculous signing, in my opinion. I love Peter Alonso 100%. Still got questions coming in, so we'll keep going. We're over an hour, but that's all right. Let's hang out. True or false? Roberto Osuna will lead MLB in saves in 2019. I'm going to say false, but I think he's a guy to keep an eye on. I'm going to say false. I don't think he'll lead MLB in saves, but I do think he'll be up there. Rank these shortstops: Story, Bregman, Correa, Lindor, Turner. Want one of them, but I don't know which. Bregman is my number one shortstop, and I'll break down my shortstop rankings here for you real quick. So my rankings for shortstops are Bregman, Turner, Lindor, Baez, Story, Correa, Bogarts, Machado. I do have Machado very low. I have Bogarts over the top of him, and Correa, Torres, and Segura. So those are my shortstops that are my shortstops rankings. So. Is Nolan Arenado worth $45 in an auction draft with a $260 budget? Yes, he is. Just make sure that you are prepared to get as much value as possible. Eli doesn't agree with me on Bregman. He's got Machado over Bregman. Okay, I see you, Eli. I don't. Oh, there's two Elis. There's two Elis in the chat. Our Beza doesn't agree with me on Bregman is a super special talent though, and he just had such a terrific season last year. Let me see here real quick. Best late round starting pitcher. Let's jump back into these ADPs here real quick. Some starting pitchers. And also keep an eye. I did a video the other day too on sleepers for this year. And this is a super deep sleeper. But Anthony Desclafani of the Cincinnati Reds. He looked to be on the up and coming a couple of years ago. He's had a whole lot of injury issues the last 2 years, but he had a healthy offseason. He's healthy now. Keep an eye on him. Logan wants to know DeGrom or Sale. Going with Sale. Positions that I think are thin. I typically try to get shortstop and second baseman as quickly as possible. Because I feel like shortstop's a little bit deeper this year, so, with shortstop, I'm okay with. Third base this year, I definitely want to try and get someone a little bit sooner. I mean, if I were to get like a Josh Donaldson, I'm okay with that, but, Jose Ramirez, Alex Bregman, Chris Bryant, I would like one of the top 4 third basemen this year, if I was picking and it fell correctly, so, I would like to do that 100%. Second base... second base could be considered thin, but I don't think it really is. I think second base might be a little bit deeper this year. Obviously, you already mentioned catcher. And starting pitching, I've seen a lot of starting pitchers. A lot of starting pitchers. A lot of people say starting pitchers, you got to get them early. It could be thin this year. So, with all that being said, you could argue that as well. Joe tossing that. Joe, appreciate that, man. Really do. Thanks for your time tonight, Kyle. You are a baseball genius, and it shows. Just got to say, Odell to the Browns by Friday. You heard it here first. 100%, Joe. If OBJ goes there, and again, thank you for the donation, man. Really appreciate it. Yeah, if OBJ goes there, I'm gonna cry over my Antonio Callaway shares. But who knows? Maybe it makes Antonio Callaway better. We'll wait and see. But appreciate that, Joe. Really do. Thanks so much. Hey guys, I'm gonna start getting ready to head out of here. It is after 10 o'clock now, and I do have some other stuff that I have to do. Really exciting things right now in the works here at the Fantasy Headliners, and you as a part of Headliner Nation are a big part of that. So if you're watching right now, please hit that like button for me. I would really appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed to the Fantasy Headliners yet, please hit that subscriber button. Would really appreciate that. Can Rendon be an MVP candidate this year? I don't think MVP candidate, but he is so good if he's healthy. So he's very consistent. I just don't think he has the upside of MVP. So again, if you can hit that like button, would really appreciate it. If you can hit that subscribe button, would also really appreciate it. Don't forget, we're giving away that signed Trey Turner baseball right now as well. Get your hands on that. Head over to Twitter at krich1532, at Fantasy Headliners, FNTSY Headliners. Follow Jake and myself as well. We're going to do more of this. Don't worry, guys. If you liked this live stream, again, after it posts, hit those comments below and let me know if you want me to do it again. I definitely will if there's enough of a demand for it. I've got more fantasy baseball content coming. We're going to be doing fantasy baseball stuff all year long, so keep an eye on the channel. And then obviously we got NFL draft stuff. Just to plug it real quick, we do have the #1 trending mock draft on YouTube right now, so check it out if you haven't done so yet. And again, we're pushing 29,000 subscribers. I don't know if we got there yet, but recommend us to your friends. Let them know that we're here grinding it out for you, and this is a channel for the people, as Jake always says, and that's what we're here to do. We are here to help you win your fantasy leagues. Thanks so much for tuning in again tonight. I really do appreciate it. I'm really excited to be here and be a part of the Fantasy Headliners. Couldn't be more thankful for this opportunity. Really excited to chat with you the rest of the season, to share this knowledge, to have these conversations. Absolutely love it. Again, thank you so much for tuning in tonight, and we will catch you on the next episode of the Fantasy Headliners. Have a good evening, everyone.